This week it was Kenosha, Wisconsin, and next week it will probably be somewhere else. Yet another senseless police shooting was followed by more rioting, looting and violence. Of course, rioting, looting and violence have basically become a nightly occurrence in America at this point anyway. The protests never seem to end in some cities, and crime rates are absolutely skyrocketing all over the country. Much of what is written about all of this chaos is focused on trying to pin the blame on someone, but even if we correctly identify who is to blame, will that actually stop the violence? I don't believe that it would. In fact, I don't think that anything is going to stop the violence anytime soon. I just feel so sad today. We are literally watching the meltdown of our society, and that process is going to continue no matter what happens in November. I have never seen so much anger in America, and the frightening thing is that the level of anger seems to just keep growing. I wish that we could learn to truly forgive one another, love one another, and come together as a society. For years I have been telling my viewers that civil unrest like this was coming. So many of the things that myself and others have been warning about are now playing out right in front of our eyes, but there is absolutely no joy in being correct. There is only sadness. I love the United States of America, and what I see happening to our nation grieves me very deeply. Whenever I make videos about our need to love one another, those videos tend not to get much attention at all. In America today, we would much rather hate our enemies than love them. The corporate media has trained us to hate those on the other side, and they have done that job very well. They have been stirring the pot for years, and now much of the population has been perfectly primed to explode. In such an environment, it was inevitable that there would eventually be eruptions of violence. On Sunday night, it was Kenosha's turn. Armed rioters shut down streets in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Sunday night as the city fell into chaos after a police-involved shooting earlier in the evening. A large group of rioters, including at least 2 armed rioters, blocked a police armored car from proceeding down a street. After a standoff, the police began throwing tear gas canisters from the top of the vehicle to disperse the crowd. Moments later, gunshots rang out after one of the protesters appeared to open fire. The police shooting that caused these riots only happened a few hours earlier. That means that some of these rioters were already armed and were ready to cause chaos on very little notice. And it seems that these sorts of riots are almost always accompanied by widespread looting. The violence quickly spread and eventually large mobs began looting shops and stores throughout the city. Later in the night, vehicles at several car dealerships were set ablaze, including one at a dealership next to a church which displayed a Black Lives Matter sign. And just like in so many other cities, police officers in Kenosha quickly became targets. In fact, it was reported that one officer was actually knocked down with a brick. Protesters were promising to come back Monday night, but Governor Tony Evers called out the National Guard in a desperate attempt to keep that from happening. In a bid to stave off another night of chaos, Democratic Governor Tony Evers said 125 members of the National Guard would be in Kenosha on Monday night with responsibility for guarding infrastructure and making sure our firefighters and others involved are protected. The Kenosha Police Department declared a state of emergency curfew for Monday night beginning at 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. the following morning, according to a post on the police department's Twitter feed. Meanwhile, we witnessed yet another senseless riot in Portland on Sunday night. A tumultuous weekend in Portland ended late Sunday night with Portland police declaring a riot outside of the Bureau's North Precinct. Police said they made 23 arrests over the course of the night on various charges like interfering with a peace officer and rioting. During the riot, protesters were literally hurling anything that they could find at the police. Demonstrators lit dumpsters on fire, and threw fireworks, rocks, and sharp chunks of ceramic at officers, police said. Just after 10:30 p.m., police declared the gathering an unlawful assembly. Sadly, a similar scene unfolded in Denver just the night before. Dozens of armed Black Lives Matter anarchists descended on the Denver police headquarters and damaged buildings, set fires and shot fireworks at cops. The mob, consisting of between 50 to 75 demonstrators, were said to be wielding numerous weapons, from axes to guns, during the incident. Of course, the riot in Denver didn't even make many headlines around the nation because this sort of thing has become so commonplace in our major cities at this point. We have basically entered a period of semi-permanent civil unrest. And now that lawlessness has been unleashed in our streets, new eruptions of violence will be easily sparked with each new incident that comes along. I am particularly concerned about this upcoming election season. It is easy to imagine quite a few scenarios which would unleash widespread rage and fury. I just wish that things could be different. Americans should not be fighting other Americans in the streets, and it deeply grieves me whenever I see it happening. If everyone simply treated others the way that they would like to be treated, we wouldn't see senseless police shootings and there wouldn't be rioting and looting in our streets. Unfortunately, the very basic values that this nation was founded upon were rejected by our society long ago, and now we are paying a very great price for that choice. This was the Survival Economist. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Thank you.